In this episode of Texposed, we're going to be taking a look at the John Gruden podcast, YouTube show, former NFL head coach. We're going to be taking a look at his setup. Let's dive right into it because this is unlike anyone we've looked at before. If we take a look here at one of two essentially podcast shows that I'm going to show you here, this first one is his solo by himself show. Now, what I like about this one in particular is the fact that this shows us a little bit different than what we've seen before of a traditional podcast or a traditional YouTube show. He's actually in front of a whiteboard, and as a former NFL head coach and someone that's still heavily involved in teaching the game of football, he loves to use a whiteboard. So I'm thinking about the person that is using a written form of communication, right? So behind him, we see the big whiteboard that he's using to write up all his notes here. As we look at the actual setup here, we see that this is pretty standard. It looks like he's just in a normal office space, right? So this is great for anyone that is looking to create a podcast or a show or record content from a regular workspace. Okay, nothing special. It's not set out to be designed per se as a podcast studio. So that's what we're looking at here. So behind here we see the door, and it has beware of I can't quite read what that one is, but you know, it's a typical office space here. So we'll go ahead and hit play here, and you'll see he's just standing in front of the camera doing a traditional talking head video, 3/4 body shot up and just talking to the camera. Now, when it comes to lighting, I had to dig and try to find lighting in here. I could not find the actual lights here, but he is nicely well lit here all the way around. You can see him. You can see the board clearly behind him, right? Now, if we go ahead and pause this for a second, one thing I want to call your attention to is the quality of the video. Now, if we look in the bottom right-hand corner in YouTube, it shows us that the quality of this video is 1080p premium HD. So what that leads me to think is that this is actually being recorded probably in 4K and downsized to 1080p. And the reason is because in the next video I'm going to show you, there's actually a guest in here as well, and we can see the camera that is going to be being used for. And that camera I know is capable of 4K. So we'll get to that here in a second. Let's jump back here into audio. We'll jump back into a clip where we can see him a little bit closer here. All right, so right here on the front of his shirt, we have a DJI wireless microphone. I love wireless microphones because they allow you to move around the space. So in his teaching, he wants to be able to move throughout the room, right? On the whiteboard, he doesn't want to be tied down to a microphone where if you walk away from the microphone, you can't be heard. So wearing a wireless microphone is what he's doing here. Now, he's actually wearing the wind muff on the microphone, and indoors, inside where you're not going to have wind, you don't necessarily need it. But if you are near an AC unit, like here in my studio, the AC unit is just off camera, having a wind deflector or a wind muff on a wireless microphone does definitely help, so you won't capture that unwanted noise. So he is wearing that on his shirt here, and as you can see, again, the whiteboard behind him, and he's got everything in the frame that he wants to be shown on the show. Now, what I do love about these podcasts and these shows is that yet again, we see another example of a sponsored show. So in the upper right-hand corner here, we see that we have Chevrolet as our sponsor for this segment of the show. And then we also see on the right-hand side, we see that Barstool's logo as well. Now, the reason I said segment of the show is because if we scroll ahead a little bit further here, we see the Fox One logo in the upper right-hand corner as well. So we have Fox One up here at the top, and that has changed through the course of this show. And as we get further to the end of this show here, we also see the DraftKings logo here in the upper left-hand corner of this show. So 3 different sponsors, if you will, in the show, which lets you know that, hey, if you want to monetize your content, showing up on a platform like YouTube, it can easily be done by just putting up a graphic in the upper left, right, bottom corner, and you can easily make some additional money to help produce your show. Now let's jump over here to this other video that was done. Now John Gruden on this channel, he has close to 400,000 subscribers. Okay, so he has some capital to invest in the production and also the resources that are needed to be able to put this out online. If we look behind him in this clip here, he has a videographer right there, right? That videographer is also holding a camera, and that camera definitely looks to be a Sony camera. The reason I'm so confident in that is because of where the recording light is on the right-hand side of that camera, or the right-hand side of this frame, actually, right above his thumb. That same camera body type is what I'm using to record this video right now. So back to what I said earlier, I think it's a 4K video. This is a 4K camera, or at least capable of doing 4K, right? So I'm using the Sony FX30, which also has the same body style as the Sony FX3. So it's either one of those two cameras, both of which are pretty good. And for a setup like I'm doing right now, the Sony FX30 is perfect, and you save a little bit money on using this over the more expensive FX3. Now, if we take a look here in the background of this shot while we still have it, we see over here on the right-hand side, we do have a nice sturdy tripod. So for a set shot where you're not going to be moving around, having a good three-legged sturdy tripod is definitely something that you want to have. I'm using one, again, for this setup as well. Now, we jump back here to the beginning of this particular show. Things we notice again here in that upper right-hand corner is that DraftKings logo. So we got that sponsorship. We got that same lapel microphone right there as well. But if we jump ahead to the guest, this is where we also see another microphone that we traditionally see in our podcast setups. Now, if you see it, go ahead and call it out. Where is it located right now in the comments below? But if you are using a traditional podcast setup, one of my more favorite microphones are the Shure microphones, and we do have one sitting here in the background on a stand. So that looks like the Shure MV7 microphone. Pretty confident in that because the cable coming out of the back is a little bit thinner than a traditional XLR, and that MV7 microphone has a USB connection, which makes it really easy to connect to a computer. Just one cable right to the computer. Now you got good quality audio, okay? And that's actually sitting on a nice microphone stand there in the background. And then on the right-hand side here as well, we see like we have either stand that's being used for a light or a microphone, probably leaning toward a light, and it's probably just being used for something else right now in this particular setup. Right now, I'm going to play this a little bit here as well, because this again isn't a traditional sit-down podcast, right? This has some movement to it, and we can see with our guest here, he's actually standing up right now, and he's going to be walking around a little bit as well. And we saw in the previous part of this section of the clips that we had that videographer, right? So that videographer is able to capture this in real time and have some motion in this video. So that's really nice if you have the resources to have a videographer. But if someone does this and there are cameras on tripods and they stand up, that person's going to be out of frame. So you kind of got to play for that. So we see him sit down, the videographer pans back down, right? Now, if you are in a situation where you may have some more animated people that are going to move around or want to stand up and you don't have a videographer, have a nice wide shot, like just a camera set up, wide angle, and it's going to capture everything. It's not going to probably even be used in most of your recordings if you're doing a traditional sit-down podcast, but that camera can capture those moments where somebody does stand up or walks, and you can still have a really good looking video even though you don't have a person actually behind the camera. So this is a pretty cool setup, a little bit different than the ones we've looked at so far, but it just goes to show you that no matter what situation you may be in, if you want to create content, you actually can do that pretty easily and at a good high quality. So this has been the tech exposing of Jon Gruden show here on YouTube. Make sure you check out the links in the description if you want to check out some of the gear that was mentioned here and some of the recommendations that go along with it as well. And of course, make sure you subscribe to his show located on YouTube. If you have any other guests that I should be tech exposing or taking a look at their setups, let me know in the comments. Look forward to seeing you in the next episode.